For over 16 years, Marissa Kane had been the invisible power behind some of the biggest marketing triumphs in the Fortune 500 world. As strategic marketing director at a leading Boston media firm, she had a rare gift, turning raw, lifeless data into campaigns that didn't just sell products but rewrote market trends. Her 9-person team was more than a department. They were a high-performing unit, bonded by late nights, impossible deadlines, and victories that others in the industry envied. Then, after just 4 days away on an important client trip, Marissa came back to something that didn't feel like an office change. It felt like a message. Their glass-walled creative hub, once the beating heart of the company's marketing wins, had been stripped from them. In its place sat a hand-picked new star, a favorite of the company's newly minted executive. Marissa's team? Banished to the basement. Damp air. Flickering lights. Folding tables that belonged at a garage sale. It wasn't a downgrade. It was a declaration. Most people would have swallowed the insult and waited it out. But Marissa wasn't most people. She knew when a storm was coming, and this time she wasn't planning to survive it. She was planning to own it. 'Cause when you shove a proven leader into the shadows, you don't bury them, you just give them time to build something bigger. Harper Lynn didn't just enter the company, she staged an arrival. At 33, she branded herself a culture visionary, saying it with the kind of confidence that made people forget to ask for proof. Her background? A few fast, flashy years at a fashion startup where trends mattered more than track records. To the board, she was fresh oxygen. To the veterans, she was an experiment with too much perfume. 5 months in, Harper made her boldest move yet. She announced the arrival of Cassidy Blake, 29, photogenic, and as much a content brand as she was a person. Cassidy's LinkedIn posts racked up thousands of likes in hours, every caption a cocktail of confidence and calculated provocation. Her title, Director of Brand Disruption. Harper promised she would redefine engagement and lift the numbers by 500%. Press release read like a prophecy. To Marissa Kane, it read like a threat. The fallout was swift. Marissa, with 16 years of battle-tested experience and a team that had delivered award-winning campaigns and millions in revenue, was told they were being relocated to allow Cassidy's crew to maximize collaborative potential. The translation was cruelly simple. Move aside for the show ponies. Their new workspace was a basement that smelled faintly of mildew and resignation. Flickering fluorescent bulbs cast everything in a tired gray, and the desks, folding tables with bent metal legs, wobbled if you breathed too close. For a team used to glass-walled meeting rooms and creative energy, it was an exile disguised as logistics. On the surface, Marissa didn't flinch. She gave no speeches, filed no complaints, and told her team to keep working as if the walls around them were still lined with awards. But inside, she felt the sting. This wasn't a reassignment. It was a calculated humiliation, the kind meant to push her into quitting without Harper ever touching her resume. Her team felt it too, the senior copywriter whose words had launched global campaigns, the fresh-out-of-school designer eager to prove herself, the data analyst who could turn raw numbers into strategy gold. Every one of them bristled at the downgrade but followed Marissa's lead. Stay quiet, stay steady. 'Cause Marissa understood something Harper didn't. Influence isn't about the room you're given, it's about the ground you choose to keep. And sometimes the sharpest counterattack begins not with a fight, but with the stillness that lets the other side write their own downfall. Marissa had always believed that great teams weren't found. They were built. Every member of her 9-person unit was someone she had handpicked from resumes the hiring department barely glanced at. The copywriter who'd been passed over because his style was too niche. The data analyst whose career detour into retail had made recruiters underestimate her. The junior designer whose portfolio looked raw but pulsed with originality. One by one, Marissa had brought them in, sharpened their instincts, and forged them into the most productive marketing team the company had ever seen. Their campaigns didn't just hit metrics, they set new ones. Yet now, upstairs, Harper and Cassidy were making a show of innovation. They hosted workshops that looked like influencer content shoots, beanbags, branded notebooks, hashtags on whiteboards. Cassidy's voice carried through the halls in bright bursts, pitching ideas full of buzzwords but light on substance. The executive team seemed hypnotized, nodding along to phrases like storytelling synergy and viral disruption as though they were hearing a gospel. Meanwhile, in the basement, Marissa's team kept producing. They met every KPI, often weeks ahead of schedule, delivering campaigns that still brought in revenue spikes and client praise. And yet, no one from leadership came down to notice. No congratulations. No updates in the company newsletter. It was as if their success existed in a sealed room, one Harper had locked from the outside. Marissa didn't waste time sulking. She knew two things: power shifted quietly, and it always shifted toward results. So she began planting the seeds of her next move. First was reaching out to Elena Soto, CEO of a powerhouse creative agency in New York. Years ago, Marissa's team had handled a high-stakes campaign for one of Elena's clients, delivering ahead of deadline and beyond expectation. Elena had never forgotten it. Now, Marissa sent a casual message, catching up, asking about the agency's new ventures. The reply came quickly. Elena was in the market for leaders who could turn ideas into revenue without drowning in ego. At the same time, Marissa began assembling a private archive. She collected hard numbers showing the before and after impact of her team's demotion, campaign revenue dips in the hands of others, engagement rates plateauing where they once soared. She saved emails where Harper bypassed standard approval processes, giving Cassidy green lights that circumvented compliance checks. She dug into public records and old industry whispers, finding a trail of failed projects from Cassidy's previous employer, campaigns hyped in pitch decks but quietly pulled from market after disappointing launches. None of it was for revenge. Not yet. This was insurance, leverage, and clarity. Because Marissa knew that the moment to act doesn't announce itself. It has to be anticipated, prepared for, and seized before anyone else sees it coming. And in the stillness of that basement, surrounded by the quiet hum of undervalued brilliance, she was already 2 moves ahead. Harper had a way of smiling when she said no, a tight, polished curve of the lips that looked professional but felt like a door slamming shut. When Marissa asked to present her team's latest results to the executive board, Harper didn't hesitate. "We'll have Cassidy handle it," she said, as if it were the most natural decision in the world. The reasoning, dressed in the language of fresh voices and modern vision, was simple. Cassidy had a campaign concept Harper believed would redefine the brand. Pitch was built around generated influencers, flawless digital faces, each with curated personalities and social feeds, engineered to appeal to hyper-specific audience segments. It was flashy, provocative, and, to anyone who'd worked in the trenches of brand management, an obvious gamble. Harper loved it. Cassidy loved it. The board, seduced by the prospect of going viral without paying real humans, approved it on the spot. For weeks, the company's social channels were overtaken by these immaculate, unreal personas. Posts drew attention, yes, but not the kind anyone wanted. Comment sections filled with accusations of deception. Longtime customers voiced disappointment, calling the campaign hollow and soulless. Industry blogs picked up the story, questioning the ethics of replacing real creators with algorithmic fabrications. The breaking point came when a major client, one of the company's highest value accounts, announced it was terminating its contract. Their official statement was polite, but the subtext was brutal. They no longer trusted the brand's direction. Inside the office, the tension was palpable. Harper called a meeting to acknowledge the learning opportunity and pivot. She proposed a gesture of goodwill to Marissa and her team. Not a reinstatement, not recognition, but an upgrade to the basement space. Better lighting, ergonomic chairs, maybe a plant wall. It was a peace offering in the language of office decor, not leadership. Marissa listened, nodded, and accepted the words with the same professionalism she had shown since the day they were moved downstairs. But inside, her thoughts were sharp, deliberate, already charting the next move. This wasn't just a corporate blunder. It was a window opening wide. In her mind, she could already see it, leaving not in quiet resignation but with proof, strategy, and an alternative path that would outshine the very system that had dismissed her. She realized that her exit could be more than an escape. It could be a statement. The industry had grown too comfortable glamorizing vision at the expense of actual expertise. She had the chance to disrupt that narrative, to show that sustainable success wasn't born from trends and noise but from grounded skill and earned trust. By the time Harper finished outlining the plans for the revitalized basement, Marissa wasn't thinking about new chairs. She was thinking about a stage bigger than this company, and how, when she stepped onto it, she wouldn't just be telling her story. She'd be rewriting the rules. Marissa had been patient long enough. Weeks of quiet observation had given her the full map, where the power flowed, where the gaps were, and who was willing to listen when stripped of corporate politics. When the moment finally came, she called her team together, not in the sterile glow of the conference rooms upstairs, but in the basement that had become both their exile and their forge. She laid out the plan without theatrics, just the precision of someone who had already run the numbers and tested the logic. Half the team would transition to Elena Soto's creative agency in New York, a move framed as a strategic partnership rather than a resignation. The other half would remain inside the company but bypass Harper's chain of command entirely, reporting straight to the CEO. It was a dual strike, building a safety net outside while tightening the flow of influence inside. They didn't need convincing. This was the team she had handpicked from overlooked resumes and discarded candidates, people who had already proven they could turn scarcity into strength. Their loyalty wasn't blind. It was rooted in years of shared results, long nights, and knowing that every metric they hit had been earned without fanfare. The following week, the council meeting began like any other: polished agendas, polite greetings, a sense of controlled order. Marissa and her team were last on the schedule, a placement designed to make them seem like an afterthought. She didn't mind. The longer the room sat through inflated projections and untested vision statements, the sharper the contrast would be when they spoke. When their turn came, the presentation was stripped of marketing fluff. It was pure, hard data. Side-by-side comparisons of quarterly revenue streams, clearly showing that 82% of the department's income was directly tied to projects led by Marissa's team. Historical performance charts made Cassidy's viral failure impossible to ignore, its losses sitting like a black stain on the timeline. Email excerpts demonstrated lapses in process, skipped approvals, and decisions made without oversight. It was not an attack, it was an autopsy. Silence filled the room when the final slide clicked into place. The CEO's expression didn't change much, but his questions were sharp, and they went straight to Harper and Cassidy. Their responses wavered between defensive jargon and awkward pauses. By the time the meeting closed, the decision was already forming. Came faster than anyone expected. Harper and Cassidy were dismissed before the week ended, their roles dissolved under the banner of departmental restructuring. Marissa's remaining team was placed under direct executive oversight, while Elena's agency began onboarding the others in their new roles. From the outside, it might have looked like a coup. But in Marissa's mind, victory wasn't in watching Harper pack up her office. It was in the quiet satisfaction that the company, from the CEO down to the interns, had been forced to confront a truth that should have been obvious all along. Skill outlasts spectacle, and results speak louder than the loudest vision. This wasn't revenge. It was correction. Fanfavisen va by Hawk, 12 to 1500 hours. So thang o and hop talk to it some vision si Elena tira ton case study togi marketing kwak jia. Ko futsum to tang agency Elena tang de sang tau kwak ti. Harper Lam Vik 2 du Kong on Din, Cassidy Chien Sang Gan Kok. Marissa Due Traftero Convention Loak Chosahetsong to Dautalan Dao Trevi Respect First Leadership. By Hawk Sao Sak. Nepotism and hype can't outperform proven expertise. Your best revenge is creating something that outlasts the insult. Respect isn't a perk, it's the foundation.